Dugan. I served in the U.S. Navy, and I attained the rank of E5. My classification was Radium second class. Graduated from college in June '67, and at that time they were starting a big replacement of men that had been drafted in '66 for Vietnam. So I had a student deferment which was going to expire in September '67, and I knew that once that happened, I was going to get reclassified to what they call, my deferment was 2S, and I was going to be reclassified 1A, which was going to make me eligible for drafting into the services, armed services of the United States. So I went to the Navy recruiter, I went to the Air Force recruiter, I filled out forms, I took tests, and the Air Force told me there was an 11-month waiting list, and I knew I would never last that long. So I sat on the Navy, and they were willing to wait for me till I decided. So I turned 21 in January of '68. I got the letter to go to 401 North Broad for my pre-induction physical. I went down and there, passed it of course, came back home and waited. So one weekend the phone rang, and it was the Air Force recruiter. And he told me that they had just got a list of people that were going to get drafted, and I was on it. So I called the Navy recruiter, wanted to know how fast they could get me in. So he asked me how long would it be, and I said I didn't know. Then I told him what the Air Force guy had told me. So a couple days, he said, well, let me know when you get actual draft notice. So a couple days later, I got the draft notice. It gave me 15 days. I called the Navy guy back. 10 days later, I went to 401 North Broad, raised my right hand. I was sworn into the Navy, and I served 4 years active, 2 years inactive. Half of us, about 60 guys went in that day. Half of us flew to San Diego. The other half got on a train and went to the Great Lakes. I left Philadelphia late in the afternoon. There was snow on the ground. I got off the plane in San Diego. It was 75 degrees. And they bussed us from the airport. There was a bus waiting for all of us. They bussed us to the Naval Training Center, which is where they took everybody that was being brought into the service. It was also the base where some guys got their education depending on what job classification they were. So we got in there and they got us straightened out. We finally put us up in bunks for the night. And they come roaring about 5 o'clock the next morning and woke us all up and said, let's go. They took us, we went through an indoctrination. They took us to a place where we got all our clothing. And once we had all that, then we went and met with other guys, and we became a company of about 60 men. I was in company 170 in boot camp, and they made me the yeoman of the company because I had college. My college allowed me to enlist as an E3 instead of an E1, so I started out a little bit ahead of the game pay-wise. So the first 4 weeks of boot camp were a lot of drilling and books and things like that, getting you acclimated to the Navy, the traditions, the principles, what rules you had to follow, different things like that. My 5th week of boot camp, most of my company served in the galley, back in the kitchen. The officers in the company, of which I was one, we went to the new barracks and we cleaned it for a week. And we went to an old World War II barracks that was on the Naval Training Center. And we got that cleaned, and the last 4 weeks were getting more training, taking some more tests. They wanted, I had taken like aptitude type tests before I went in, but you took more of them so they could decide where to best fit you in a job category that worked for them for the skills you might have. So that's how I ended up being a radio. My skills were in that area. So After 9 weeks, we graduated, and then half of us got to go out to San Diego one night, and half of us got to go out the other night. And then that was in the middle of the week. And then that weekend, we were given our orders, and we flew home. Now, I got assigned to a naval communications station on the Northwest Cape in Australia.